When we lead, learn, and live the way the brain works best, we just get better results with less effort. Today, we are talking about efficiency. Did you know the number one most frequently overlooked capability that fuels efficiency? And do you know the top threats that can destroy efficiency? You will after this video. If efficiency is important to you, this is game-changing information. Let's get started. Friends, I'm Yellin, author of Unforgettable Leadership and truly a self-proclaimed brain nerd and brain enthusiast. I am obsessed with learning how do we lead, learn, and live the way this amazing piece of equipment works, because when we can do that, we really can get better results with less effort. We really can be more efficient, and that's the focus of this video. So I want to ask you a question. If you were tasked today with building greater efficiency for yourself, for your team, or for your entire company, what would be the first skill or capability you would think about building or investing in? So I love to ask that question because oftentimes I will hear lean processes and sure, agile ideas and processes can lead to greater efficiency. Or maybe I'll hear greater problem solving, better problem solving skills. Or maybe it is resolving conflict, because if we can resolve conflict, we can contribute to greater efficiency. Or maybe the first thing that came to mind was developing higher technical skills. And honestly, if you gave any of those responses, it's not that you would be wrong, because all of those contribute in one way or another to greater efficiency if done well. However, there is this one skill and capability that we see can have the greatest impact on overall efficiency. And it's almost like a hidden variable that we often overlook. And that is the skill and capability that's associated with creativity and innovation. Creativity and innovation really fuel efficiency because it allows us to see possibilities that we hadn't seen before, and it also gives us the motivation to put those actions in place. So in this video, I really wanted to talk to you about this idea of creativity and innovation and how it links to efficiency. I want to share with you the 3 biggest threats we see that can destroy efficiency, but maybe even more importantly, I wanted to share some small, practical steps that you can take to foster a culture of creativity and innovation and enjoy the results of efficiency. Because when we can be more efficient, when we can create a culture where creativity and innovation thrive, we're also going to see improvements in decision making, in problem solving. We're going to attract better talent. We're going to retain that talent. You're going to enjoy higher levels of employee engagement, be a better market fit. You'll be able to build new products, provide new services, and really set yourself up for greater, more sustainable, long-term growth. So I wanted to share a few truths that everyone needs to know about this precious commodity of creativity and innovation. One of those truths is that creativity and innovation and creating a culture where creativity and innovation can truly thrive is not a nice to have when I get around to it. It's a must-have and essential if we are going to be competitive in any market. All of us operate in a very competitive market, regardless of your industry. And so having this culture and having the results that creativity and innovation produce is not a nice to have, it is a must have. I think all of us could think of companies that used to exist that no longer exist. And there are many reasons why that typically happens, but one of the core reasons is because they took their eyes off the importance of creativity and innovation and the importance of creating cultures where creativity and innovation can thrive. So that's truth number one. Truth number two about this commodity is that it doesn't happen in isolation. So I know all of us think from time to time how much easier our life would be if all of these people would just go away and leave us alone. But the truth is, if we want phenomenal results, we have to build phenomenal collaboration. Once again, paying attention to what's the culture like that's either going to foster creativity and innovation and the collaboration that's essential for that to happen, or creating a culture where that can destroy the very thing that we're trying to create. So I think about creativity and innovation sometimes, and I have this image of this mad scientist in a basement in the dark, in the dead of night, with lightning and thunder roaring in the background, and they have this eureka moment. They have this idea, this big innovative idea that solves a big flashy problem. But that's not really how creativity and innovation work. It happens in collaboration with people. A lot of people with very diverse perspectives and very diverse views working diligently with each other over time. Again, pointing to the value of creating a culture that will grow that in the first place. And then the third truth that's so important that we understand is that when it comes to creativity and innovation and the piece of equipment that fuels it, we're actually set up to fail. That's not our default setting. In fact, our default setting with this amazing piece of equipment is kind of the opposite. It can go to threat much faster than it can move to this culture of creativity and innovation and collaboration. So I wanted to walk you through 3 of the threats that we see repeatedly. Maybe not completely destroying creativity and innovation, but definitely making it much harder to create in our culture, and therefore much harder to achieve the results that occur when you have a thriving culture of creativity and innovation. Before I jump into those threats, though, I want you to think about, where do you have the opportunity to innovate and create? These two terms are used hand in hand a lot, and they have a lot of similarities, but they also have some unique differences. So the word innovate means to alter an established practice, or to make a slight change or a slight adjustment. So it may be that you already have a current process that could be even better if. And that's innovation. Where do I need to make small, subtle improvements? Or where do I have the opportunity to do that? The word create means to grow. And so it is to grow something that doesn't yet exist. And that's one of the reasons why they're often used hand in hand, but they also are slightly different. Now I want to build on this idea of growing, because if we focus on the growth part, we're probably going to get the innovative part right too. So when you think about growing, you've got to think about, first of all, if you were going to go plant a garden, you would think about what you want to grow first and foremost. And then the second thing is you would have to think about, what are the conditions or the environment in which this thing can actually grow. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I can't grow anything. I tried my hand at a garden one time, and I grew okra that was as hard as sticks. And even right now at the entrance of my driveway, I have plastic shrubs. They're very realistic looking plastic shrubs, but nonetheless, they're plastic shrubs. And so I'm always fascinated with people who can grow, especially things that are really hard to grow. And so in this world, I learned that the Boston fern is one of the most difficult houseplants to grow. And not only to initially grow, but it is one of the most difficult plants to keep alive for days, weeks, months, and years to come. It's very particular about the conditions. But if you get those conditions right, that Boston fern will flourish. Well, creativity and innovation are a lot like that. Think of creativity and innovation as the Boston fern within your organization. If we get the culture right, if we get all of the conditions in the environment right, creativity and innovation grow almost effortlessly. So we're going to take a look at what are some of the threats that can keep that from happening. So why are those conditions so important? Well, look no further than right here. So there's a part of your brain you've probably heard about, read about in some way by now, called the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is truly a priceless area in your brain. Well, it's all priceless, right? It keeps us alive and it keeps us highly functioning. But when it comes to the results that we're looking for within our own lives, within our team, within our organization, the prefrontal cortex is a really important consideration, and it's very fragile. So the prefrontal cortex, when there's lots of activity in this part of the brain, we can plan. We can think ahead, be proactive, have the discipline and the resilience to pursue and reach long-term goals. We're also much more collaborative and tolerant of differences. We're a lot more fluid. We're not overly committed or attached to our current beliefs or current way of being. And the other important result that comes from activity in the prefrontal cortex that's sometimes overlooked is this idea of creativity and innovation. When we have lots of activity in our prefrontal cortex, we can see options. We can see possibilities. We are, again, a lot more open-minded to different perspectives and different points of view. Therefore, collaboration really can thrive. So the more activity in the prefrontal cortex, the greater the likelihood of innovation and creativity. Again, think about the prefrontal cortex and the creativity and innovation as the Boston fern. We get those conditions right and it grows almost effortlessly. What we also have to understand is when activity in this part of our brain is decreased dramatically, all of those functions maybe not go away entirely, but they're much more difficult to create. So what can shut down the prefrontal cortex faster than anything else outside of disease or injury is threat. So let's take a look at the 3 biggest threats that can really hinder and maybe even destroy creativity and innovation. As I said earlier, one of the truths about creativity and innovation is that in a way we're kind of set up to fail because our brain's default setting is threat. Okay? Left undisciplined or untrained, our brain will typically go to threat, where we get defensive, where we get very protective of our ideas, so we need to be right, where we tend to have this us against them mentality. And so it's really important that we don't leave your culture up to default, because a culture by default will go to threat. It's so important that we are always intentionally creating the culture that is going to produce the results that we want. In this case, creativity and innovation. So one of the threats that we want to keep our eye on is this idea of confusion. Your brain does not like confusion. Your brain doesn't resist change. So when you want to innovate and you want to alter an established practice, it's not the actual change that's causing the resistance. It's the confusion that can center around the change. So we need to recognize that a confused mind says no. Your brain resists confusion. So if confusion is the threat, then the one simple practical tool that we can put into place is clarity. So a couple of ideas for really promoting clarity where you're needing to see creativity and innovation. One of those ideas is simply using a couple of powerful words, clear and clarity. So it might sound like in a meeting, our goal here is to be clear on what winning looks like. Or let's work together to gain clarity on what our next steps need to be as we move through this innovative project. So just using those words alone can bring the clarity to the brain that it's seeking. Another really practical tip when you find that someone is stuck, maybe they're seeking a creative or innovative idea to help them be more efficient, and you recognize that they can't move beyond it. Just having a question can be very helpful. So ask that individual or ask yourself if you're that person, where do I need clarity? And what are my 3 next steps? I think about sometimes if you're ever driving in a fog and you can't see too far ahead of you, all you really need is to have enough light to see right in front of you. And so those questions can reduce some of the threat and help that individual get clear on where they need clarity, but also what are just the 3 next steps to move them in that direction. A second important threat that we want to be mindful of if we're going to create a culture where creativity and innovation can thrive is that your brain is highly threatened when it feels powerless, when it feels like it doesn't have a choice or a voice. One example that comes to mind for me is back in my career, I was working in a manufacturing environment in the defense industry, and it was purchased by a larger organization. So threat number 1 is we've got confusion because we don't really know how it's going to change things. Are we even going to have a job? But the second thing that they came in and changed our logo. And it was just the department's logo. And honestly, the current logo really wasn't anything impressive. It was just our logo. And the fact that they came in and changed it put us, made us defensive because we didn't feel like we had a voice in it. And I reflect back on that experience and how much unnecessary drama was created and how it shut down our ability to be creative and innovative because we were just told what the new logo was going to be. And even if if they had come in with even 2 options, or if they'd given us 3 options and we could have voted, my guess is we would have voted on the logo that they were going to give us in the first place. But what it would have reduced is all the resistance and all the drama that ensued because we weren't giving a choice. So a tip, easy, is where you have an opportunity to involve people in making decisions. Involve them. You can tell people and they comply, but if we involve people, we gain commitment. And that is a very different experience in the culture. So where you have the opportunity. So let's say you have an idea for innovation or creativity, and you just even give some parameters, or you give some indicators of what winning would look like, but involve the group in how they're going to get there, or involve them in as much input as you have freedom to give in what that final product or final service will look like. Another really great question to have in your pocket when you find that someone is kind of stuck in this idea and they can't think bigger than where they are at now, and you want to help them move back into this space of creativity and innovation. Here's a great question that generates choices. And what else? Michael Bungay-Stanier talks about this in his book, The Coaching Habit. He calls it the awe question, AWE, and what else? So when you find that someone seems to have moved into that tunnel and they can't see possibilities and options, then that's often the red flag that their brain is under threat, and that also should be a reminder that the likelihood of creativity and innovation thriving is very low. So we want to help people open up options. It's a question you could ask yourself. It's a question you could ask your team. It's a question that you can help others ask when you're interacting with other departments or within your entire business. And what else? So let's say we wanted to make a slight improvement to a process. Rather than just stopping at the first response or the first idea, let's start asking, and what else? And what else? And what else? And what else? And let's see how many options we can really generate. I often think about that and what else question is like a really wet wash rag. And by asking it and asking it and asking it, what we're going to do is we're going to bring it all out. And by generating options, you're lowering threat and you're actually increasing the likelihood of even more creativity and innovation. So the third threat that can really hinder innovation and creativity is this perception of adverse consequences, that something negative is going to occur because of this creative idea or this innovative approach. Listen, your brain does not like to lose. And so even if it's not necessarily happy with the current state, it feels comfortable in the current state. So introducing moving in a creative direction or changing something, making it innovative, that slight alteration means that there's going to be some level of loss of the current way of doing things. And the brain does not like to lose. And so a couple of small practical things that you can do to lower this feeling of negative consequences, but it will also impact the other two threats of needing clarity and needing a choice and a voice. One of my favorite phrases to add on to anything is, and here's why. So if I said we need to improve this process, and here's why, instantly I've provided clarity and I've lowered this initial perception of negative consequences, and I've taken the brain's focus off of what it's losing to think about what it's gaining. So just adding that phrase, and here's why, onto just about everything you say until it becomes a natural way of thinking is super important to lowering threat and opening up the possibility of creative and innovative ideas. My second tip around this has less to do with actions and questions and more to do with belief. And it is considering when a change comes, rather than moving into a place of adverse consequences and all that I'm losing. What if instead we start asking, how might this be happening for me rather than to me? Because when we can shift those beliefs, then we can move into an action of seeking other options and what else and what else and what else, and understanding that bigger why, and then we can involve people in the decisions that are impacting them. So all of us agree that greater efficiency there are possibilities of greater efficiency in almost every single aspect of our daily lives, definitely within our teams and our organizations. And I just don't want you to miss that skill and capability of creativity and innovation is one of the most powerful skills or capabilities that we can grow to become more efficient. But underlying that is the culture. It's so important that if we create the right culture being where threat is decreased, then we've set the perfect environment for creativity and innovation to survive and thrive, and we achieve those results that we're looking for with a lot less effort. So if you are seeking to grow in efficiency and you are looking for more practical ways that you can build this capability of creativity and innovation for yourself, for your team, for your business, the great news is that's what we do every single day. So reach out to us. We will help you get a clear picture of where you are, and together we'll get a clear picture of where you want to be. And our goal is always to help you get there faster with less effort. Stay committed to creating a culture where creativity and innovation thrive. That's what will really drive greater efficiency. And let's stay committed to this no matter what.